What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday out there. Hope we had a wonderful day, and I got a pretty big video update for you tonight. And as you'll probably notice right out the get-go here, we're going to do things a little bit different here. I've changed some of my setup. I've had some ideas in the workings that I've decided to go ahead and put into place here on the channel. So definitely make sure to leave your feedback in the comments if you like it. And of course, if you are new here, definitely consider liking the video and subscribing for more weather forecasting content, as well as all other sorts of things I do in my life. So definitely would appreciate that. It goes a long way in helping the channel grow and reach more people to get warning out for severe weather. Now, speaking of severe weather, we do have a lot of severe weather to talk about today, including the chance of tornadoes overnight tonight for some pretty highly populated areas, and that threat will persist through the overnight hours into the early morning hours, and then once again really flare up tomorrow afternoon for some folks in the mid-Atlantic. So I'm going to break that down for you, tell you who's most at risk and who really just needs to be most prepared for these storms as they roll on through. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video here. So taking a look at satellite imagery right now, you'll notice we have a pretty big area of convection already firing off here through sections of Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi. In fact, we have some storms out here that look pretty suspect on radar, I will say, and I'll definitely show you that here in a moment. Now, all of this is because of a big kind of surface low pressure system tracking across the middle of the country, bringing with it plenty of wind energy rotating around it. That, combined with very warm southerly flow that we often see in August, is going to lead to some pretty strong storms, including the chance of some strong tornadoes this evening. So definitely want to watch out for that. Now, outside of the storm system, we're having a pretty nice day for much of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. We've seen pretty nice weather, definitely an improvement of what we saw earlier in the week. So we will definitely take that and enjoy that. All right, so now taking a look here at our current watches, warnings, and radar imagery, you'll notice that we have a lot going on out there. So zooming this in a little bit, obviously we still have all of this heat we've been dealing with into the southern tier of the country, from Florida through Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, also dealing with a lot of that heat. But north of there, that heat is fueling very strong storms, and that's why we already have a tornado watch out for sections of Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma this evening, and this will likely be expanded eastward through much of Arkansas throughout the overnight hours, so we will definitely want to watch that as we go into the overnight. Now, we also are seeing a lot of rain with this, so we do have some flood watches up for places kind of along the Ohio River, as well as areas south of there, closer towards Tennessee and Arkansas. All right, so going into this evening, we do have an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms, and I want to kind of clear the air here a little bit. A lot of times when people hear enhanced risk and then they hear moderate risk, they think that moderate risk is a bigger threat. Unfortunately, I don't know why the Storm Prediction Center does it this way, but the terminology really is just not great, to be quite frank with you. Actually, a moderate risk is higher than an enhanced risk, excuse me. Now, luckily, we don't have a moderate risk today, but we did the other day, and I forgot to mention that. I just think it's something important that a lot of the times isn't conveyed very well to the public, and we'll definitely talk more about that in future videos, but luckily we don't have a moderate risk to worry about tonight, so we'll just deal with this enhanced risk we have, which with it, though, of course, does bring pretty big time severe weather problems. So speaking of that enhanced risk, it runs from northern Arkansas all the way down towards northern Alabama for some strong supercell storms that will likely get going, again fueled by that warm Gulf air, and then further fueled by that wind energy from that low pressure. It will cause plenty of problems. Now, looking at the tornado threat specifically, we have a 10% hatched area here into northern Arkansas and southern Missouri, and I'll tell you, this is quite unprecedented for this time of year. We do not see this very often in August, and we definitely normally don't see it this far south in August. Whenever we see this kind of severe weather threat in August, normally it's up into the northern Great Plains where we have that cold Canadian air clashing with, very warm Gulf air. But this storm system is tracked quite far south and bringing with it the chance of a tornado anywhere from northern Arkansas all the way to the western Carolinas tomorrow morning. So again, a big area of dangerous storms to worry about with this. Luckily, though, the tornado threat isn't the largest threat. We do have a wind threat to worry about as well. So maybe not luckily, but it is, a good thing that the tornado threat's a little bit lower than the wind threat here. And again, a very big wind threat from northern Arkansas through much of Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and northern Alabama starting now through the overnight hours. And we also do have a hail threat specifically there into southwestern Missouri and into northwestern Arkansas. And again, that will all begin with these storms that begin to fire over the next couple of hours, and those could become strong to severe. All right, so running you through future radar this evening and going into the early morning hours of tomorrow. We're already seeing some strong to severe storms firing off here through northern Mississippi and Alabama, and those are some of those storms that look a bit suspect on radar. So if you're in that area, definitely make sure you're staying weather aware over the next couple of hours. But other than that, we'll be in a little bit of a lull for some folks. But as the sun goes down, expect these storms to begin to fire off here into eastern Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, and southwestern Missouri. And you'll notice there's a bit of a discrete kind of evolution of these storms. So they'll start very discrete, meaning that we'll have quite a large tornado threat, and that's when our tornado threat will be the highest indeed. Now, they'll stay discrete for a couple of hours, tracking through northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, before likely going into the overnight hours. These cells will merge into a line of strong storms. That's when that wind threat really kicks up for folks in Memphis, eastern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, and northern Alabama through the overnight hours. Now, if you're sleeping tonight in Nashville, Knoxville, northern Georgia, don't be surprised overnight to hear some lightning, or I guess you hear the thunder, see the lightning maybe, and that very well could wake you up. And you definitely want to be weather aware overnight tonight. If you have a weather radio, make sure it's plugged in tonight, as I wouldn't be surprised at all to see some nocturnal tornado warnings issued, and definitely some very strong winds pushing on through with this line of storms. Now, same story with the Western Carolinas tomorrow morning. Expect strong storms tomorrow morning from Atlanta through Greenville, Spartanburg, up towards Greensboro, and back towards the Charlotte area, where, again, we could see some strong storms embedded in that line of showers and storms. Then the good news is, by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon out here, we clear out mostly, minus some showers and storms through Mississippi and Alabama. Now, the significant tornado parameters, or just the ingredients for tornadoes, again, you'll notice is quite high this evening there into sections of Arkansas, and even this evening as well through northern Mississippi and Alabama. So, of course, have a way to get those warnings as those ingredients move on through. The good news, as we get into the overnight, those ingredients die down a bit before once again flaring up tomorrow afternoon, areas further eastbound. All right, so talking about those areas further eastbound here, again, tomorrow morning, expect that line of strong showers and storms moving through the Western Carolinas. That will eventually kind of regain some strength going throughout the later morning hours and early afternoon as that pushes east of the I-26 and I-77 corridor, bringing strong storms from Columbia up through Raleigh and eventually east through Fayetteville and Greenville, North Carolina. Now, that's one threat tomorrow afternoon. We have a secondary threat behind that as the surface low continues to crank across the mountains here. Expect that wind energy to pick up, and with that, more storms to fire closer to the surface low. These storms will bring more of a tornado threat for places potentially as far west as Greensboro, and then tracking through the state of North Carolina, Virginia, and potentially as far south as South Carolina tomorrow afternoon, bringing with them the threat of large hail, damaging winds, and even a tornado or two is possible, before eventually that low pressure scoots off eastbound, and we have a much nicer overnight going into overnight Thursday and into early Friday. Now, the tornado parameters out here, again, you'll notice I'm very concerned, a big flare-up of those tornado parameters, I think specifically in eastern North Carolina, although as far south as the Florence area of South Carolina and as far north as the Richmond and Norfolk area of Virginia. So anywhere kind of in this circle here needs to be prepared for strong storms tomorrow afternoon and evening, including the potential of a tornado or two rolling on through. And then again, those ingredients move out as we go into the overnight hours. All right, so that's the severe weather threat we have to worry about over the next 48 hours. Now, looking ahead into the overall pattern going through the rest of August, just to quickly touch on this, expect kind of more of the same. We're going to have a couple of these systems dive out of Canada, down out of the northern Great Plains, and work their way southward through the northeastern part of the United States, bringing with them rain as well as severe weather potential. So you'll notice here's another storm system potentially early next week, again, bringing severe weather for populated areas, and then potentially another one after that swinging on through. So the overall pattern over the next couple of days looks quite, or not a couple of days, but over the next week or so looks quite active for a lot of folks here in the eastern half of the country. Now, in terms of temperatures, which I'm sure a lot of us are quite interested in here to say the least, expect some heat to build back into the southern tier of the country as the storm track lifts northward, allowing that southern heat to once again return from the Gulf of Mexico, and some ridging building in, helping to aid that threat of heat. Now, in terms of rain, obviously, we'll expect higher precipitation chances in the northern tier of the country, again, as that low pressure track shifts to the north. So we'll definitely watch out for that, and then could mean a bit of drier weather down into the southern tier of the country, but really just depends how far south these low pressures are able to get into. All right, so that's all I've got for you on this Wednesday evening. Hopefully the video was of use to you. And of course, again, if you liked it, hit that like button and subscribe. It means the world to me to see that from you all. And of course, I just want to say thanks in general for everyone who stuck around and dealt with my nonsense for the past however long I've been doing this. I guess about 7 or 8 months now, which is pretty crazy to say out loud. So again, just really grateful for all of you. It means a lot that you come back every day. With that said, though, again, make sure you're staying weather aware tonight, and I will see you all tomorrow.